Battlefield 6 is still a little bit of a ways away from its next update that we know of. December 9th, that's the final phase of Season 1, as detailed so far with the Winter Offensive update. But so far, there's a lot of things that have caught the attention of both players and developers as known issues, with changes coming on the way. Today, I wanted to take some time to discuss those known issues and changes so that you can be aware of these problem locations in the game, but also know of some of the ones upcoming that have fixes already scheduled. So, drop your thoughts as we go along, drop a like if you enjoy the video, and make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all things Battlefield 6 and other FPS content here as we chase down 700,000 subscribers together. But for now, let's get into what you should know. First, let's talk about some of the bigger issues here. One of the biggest ones that I'm personally looking forward to is an audio pass. Responding to a tweet saying, "For the love of all things holy, please fix the footstep audio in Battlefield 6. Principal game designer Florian responded, "The entire in-game audio is receiving a full pass to solve these issues, including fixing some issues that caused some sound to completely cut out. We're still working on it and verifying the changes, but hoping we can share more details on that soon." Now, while it is something that could still be coming in the next couple of days here, I think the most logical timing for when we can expect this update would be the Season 1 Phase 3 update coming, though nothing specific has been mentioned just yet. Of course, that gives us until December 9th to see those changes enacted, and as Florian ended up mentioning, they're still working on it and verifying the changes. So it is something that still is in the process of being finalized in that case, and not necessarily ready to push out just yet, but is right on the precipice of that. This offers time to fix that, still to be testing further, but also with just under 2 weeks away, it's more than enough time potentially for that fix to be outfitted for that update. But it's also not so far that you have to wait for the new year for a potential Season 2 drop of this kind of update. But definitely looking forward to that. I think audio definitely is one of those problematic locations in Battlefield 6 that, while the ambiance of everything and like the cinematic scale of everything is great, those minor nuanced things that do change the gameplay experience, i.e. footstep audio, is definitely something that still needs some work. So looking forward to that change coming. They ended up mentioning input issues will be changed, where there's a switch to the class hotkey options for mouse and keyboard. That will be removed. I have definitely noticed that as well. While trying to just do some quick selection, it will just override that and completely mess with the menus that I have in game. The mouse sensitivity slider is only moving in rounded numbers. That's something that they detailed, as we'll touch on in a second, in a more like deeper known issues listing. We don't have the ability to adjust those values by decimal points. That'll be fixed out with this next upcoming update. And weapon optics randomly will switch to thermal, which that was a fix that was meant for the 1.1.2 update, but did not make it in there. Let's talk about some known issues out of 1.1.2's update. The update a couple of days ago. Since then, we have seen a few things adjusted, but for the most part, a lot of these issues still do persist. Like, they ended up changing the conquest ticket value. They ended up making back-end fixes to a various number of things. Escalation now has its capture time for objectives roughly 20% longer and stuff like that. But for the most part, there's still a lot of known issues that do need to be tackled here, whether it be in Season 1 Phase 3's update or a little bit further down the line. Some of these changes are bigger than others, but still, they're not necessarily even things that require us to be waiting for these next seasonal launch updates, but instead could be something we see on a smaller update as well that could be any time within the next month or so. For Battlefield 6 in particular, there's a lot of different bugs and persisting issues with the players, such as walking up certain staircases may result in jittery animations or cause the soldier to become stuck. Players reviving down teammates also cannot change their stance during that initial pen ready animation at the start of the revive process, so that gets you stuck in that one place there and can leave you a little bit vulnerable as well. Additionally, soldiers in water, a big one here, is they don't receive melee damage, which is strange, but definitely something that needs to be fixed out. Weapons, you have things like the FMJ ammunition penetration bonus that's currently applied to all other ammunition types except shotguns. So obviously overextending that in what it should be applied to. Crosshairs not scaling properly when playing in the 4K resolution. As somebody that plays in 4K, definitely have noticed that it's felt off with that. So nice to see that that will have a fix in the near future for it. For certain scopes, the lens may visually detach from the scope itself during the ADS reload, which can cause for some buggy animations. For certain weapons and scopes, zooming and firing very early in the transition period will cause that first bullet to be fired well off target compared to what it should be, which shouldn't be super problematic. You're only changing the visual viewpoint, not your actual aim point. So obviously, that's something that needs to be adjusted. Maps and modes have some adjustments coming in the near future and known issues where players may be unable to respawn after a round of strike points. So obviously, to be able to play the next round of the game, that's pretty integral to the gameplay experience and to helping your team out. When opening the map, the interface may become unresponsive if multiple keys, such as space and escape, are pressed simultaneously previously. I had this happen to me at one point too, so nice to see that it's not necessarily just me going crazy, but that was also something that's problematic. The UI and the HUD have some things where one notable point was that the scoreboard does not currently track player deaths accurately in strike points. So of course, that's something that does need to be fixed out. Settings have had a lot of different discrepancies with what they say they're supposed to do versus what they actually do. Some things just not working as intended. So things like the stick forward sprint time, that cannot currently be modified. The graphic settings that when set to low using the auto performance set some RTX 5080 cards at 4K or 1080p. So obviously big discrepancy there, and dependent on hardware could be something that really starts to underutilize some of what you have. Consoles exclusively, currently the dynamic resolution scaling is not working as intended in performance mode, where after joining a game session, the performance mode option will need to be toggled off and then back on again to receive that full benefit. So this is something that will be repeated every single time you join a new game, which obviously becomes a little bit frustrating. It's not necessarily like super problematic, like it's a first world problem for sure, but I mean, when something is enabled, it should just work by default like that. So obviously not having that be the case, nice to see that's known and of course is going to be fixed out. They also had mentioned that the smooth motion being set in the NVIDIA app caused the client to either get stuck on a black screen or crash shortly after launching. So nice to know that we'll have a resolution for that as well. As for some RedSec stuff, there's a lot of things that are again like more minor or like mission progression based or sort of bugs with the gameplay itself. Like some of the things that may not necessarily be super noticeable to you could be like completing a reroll daily mission challenge can end up occasionally reverting it back to the original challenge that you had before, that you've re-rolled to get out of the way. So obviously that kind of stuff is more minor, but still is stuff that is a known issue and will be fixed. But one of the ones that did stand out to me was that players can sometimes experience latency and hit registration issues during Battle Royale initiation. So while it is segmented to that initiation phase of everything, still having latency and hit registration issues is a actual game-breaking issue that you have. So obviously seeing that as a known issue and with a fix coming, definitely nice. RedSec maps and modes. Ring prediction is a big part about how you relocate in the game. Sometimes it's said that the ring prediction may not actually be accurate within that closing ring, so not giving you the most up-to-date and adequate information, where they also said the fastest path to zone line can sometimes remain visible and inaccurate after the smallest ring closes, and some loot will become inaccessible if dropped in a certain position and like wrong place, wrong time type of situation, where if anything falls in an open chest, it can go beneath the chest and then become inaccessible. The gauntlet mode of heist and extraction, if players disconnect, the game will just basically delete what they're carrying and had on their person. So obviously kind of ruining the flow of the rest of the match at that point until any sort of reset. Some gadgets can also be thrown through walls for RedSec, which obviously is not intended. Smoke cover can also not be used in late game currently, which is a big problem as well. And then finally, things like teammates not appearing in pre-game lobbies, players sometimes getting stuck on the black screen during insertion or gameplay after changing settings. Obviously, all of that kind of stuff needs to be fixed out and is known issues from the development team, so we should see those issues resolved here shortly. But anyways, just wanted to take some time today and run down some things that you should probably know about in Battlefield 6 and RedSec respectively. Some of these you may encounter all the time, some of them you may never have encountered, but it's nice to know that these fixes are on the way. Again, probably as soon as Season 1 Phase 3, if I were to guess. Maybe some of these coming even sooner. Some of them still could be coming later on down the line with like a Season 2 fix, but for the most part, a lot of these do seem to be more minor inconveniences. Some, though, of course, are game-breaking, so we'll see how quickly those fixes can be implemented. But fixes no less, but that's where we're gonna wrap it up. Let me know your thoughts down below. Like that these are known issues and that changes are coming. Not so much. Drop your thoughts. And if you enjoy the video, drop a like, and of course, make sure to subscribe to stay updated with all things Battlefield 6 and even more FPS content here on the channel. I'd love to have in the community. For now, though, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. See you later. Take care, and peace.